The koan. The subject for meditation is the koan. It requires a supreme mental effort and permits no lazy daydreaming. Here are a few examples of koans. Show me your original face before you were born. If you meet someone in the street who has attained the truth, you must pass him neither speaking nor in silence. How would you meet him? The priest Shushan held his staff before the eyes of the assembled monks and said, "If you call this a stick, it is disgusting. If you don't call it a stick, it is wrong. What will you call it?" Koan held his hand up in the air and told his pupils to listen to the sound it made. What was it like? With the help of this last koan, I will try, as best I may, to show what course the meditant follows and what is the point of the exercise. For hours, days, and weeks, the pupil meditates on his task. Sunk in profound concentration, he thinks the problem through in all possible directions. One thing is clear: since only two hands striking together can produce a sound, the answer can only be: no one with the best will in the world can hear the sound of one hand. But the solution cannot be as simple as that. Would it not be more cautious to say, a single hand does not emit a sound that is perceptible to the human ear? But that does not get him any further. Obviously, the point is not the sound and its audibility, which are thrown in just to make the problem more complicated. The point is, obviously, what is the significance of one hand in contradiction to two? Is not this the same as the fundamental distinction between unity and duality? The hand must be a symbol of the principle, one without a second. This solution recommends itself to the pupil because it is a distinction that plays a crucial role in Buddhism and is often discussed. Having found such an admirable solution, the pupil hurries off to the master. He has the right to ask him one question a day. He propounds his solution with pride and enthusiasm. The master hears him out, shakes his head, and sends the bewildered pupil back to the meditation hall without a word. But it sometimes happens that he does not let the pupil utter a word, and sends him away when he has scarcely opened the door. The pupil, thrown back on himself, begins to concentrate anew. He will distinguish himself yet, astonish the master. Meditating doggedly, he tries to force a solution. But however he twists and turns it, he can come to no other conclusion. Why then did the master dismiss him? Perhaps he only expressed himself badly. He turns the formulation over in his mind. Once more he goes to the master, who dismisses him again, this time with evident disapproval. But again, the pupil fails to discover where he has gone wrong. He now gets into a state. If he is so far from the solution, will he ever be able to reach the goal? He pulls himself together. It is a matter of life and death. With passionate energy, he throws himself on the problem, not with the discriminating intellect, but with the combined forces of body, soul, and spirit, so that it never lets him alone. It torments him during recreation, at mealtimes, at his daily work. It pursues him even in sleep. No need now to force himself to think about it. Even when he wants distraction, it goes on thinking in him. All in vain, the solution just will not come. He doubts his own ability, begins to despair, and does not know where to turn. He is saved from utter despair only by the master's admonition that he is to increase the concentration until he is no longer disturbed by moody thoughts. He must learn to wait, patiently and trustfully, until the solution is ripe and comes of its own accord, without being forced. So now he sets about in a different way. It is no longer necessary to analyze the problem and think it out. He has done enough of that already. He no longer thinks in a circle, of this or that, of one hand or two hands, of principles and such like. He does not even think about the problem in order to force it, and yet he is constantly related to it in an extraordinary spiritual tension. He longs for it like a man thirsting for quenching drink. But he behaves like a man who is trying to remember something. He feels like a person who is seeking something he has forgotten, something he has to remember at any cost because his life depends on it. In this state of spiritual tension, it may happen that the solution will come to him quite unexpectedly, or else a shout, a loud noise, or in obstinate cases, as used to be done in earlier times, a painful blow will bring the tension to bursting point. How exciting is this moment! The pupil trembles, breaks out in a sweat. But rapturous too. What he has sought in vain comes to him in a flash. He now sees clearly where everything was a tangle before. He can see the wood in spite of the trees. The scales fall from his eyes. He feels saved. The moment is brief, like a flash of lightning, yet profoundly impressive. No wonder he cannot grasp it.